Alright, everything wrong with the $2,000 Eclipse project car that I picked up here. RSX, I meant. I don't know why I do this all the time. I say the completely wrong thing and don't even find it until I'm in editing. I did this on the Eclipse when I picked it up, and I'll probably continue doing so for every project car I feature on the channel. So usually when I get it, I'll make a little quick video about it, show you around the car, the inside and outside, and talk about the issues I discovered on the test drive before I bought it, and then whatever I may have noticed within the next day or two, you know, bringing it home and getting plates on it and all that. But then I go a step further after I've driven the car for, you know, a few weeks, couple months or whatever. In this case, I think it's been something like that, about 2 months or so. As I discover more issues from really driving it around back roads, bumps, twists, curves, straightaways, highways, stuff like that, and also taking a look under the car as I have here, and then go over everything that's wrong with it. So that's where we're at this point. So I already posted the video when we first brought the car home and discussing a few things I knew that was wrong with it, but I have found a few more things, having owned and driven it weekly for the past couple months, and I just crawled out from under it, seeing what I could find under there. So let's go over everything wrong with this $2,000 RSX project car. Runs and drives, if you didn't see the other videos. So I've only fixed this intake boot so far because that was the most pressing matter I had to fix right away, because it was just sucking in straight air. It was completely bypassing the air filter. I actually took this box apart, and I could see there's a brand new Fram air filter in there that is perfectly white. But if you saw any of the previous videos, this boot was tore down here. Like, it was practically completely tore off. So the throttle body was just sucking in air straight through here. It wasn't even going through the air box. And then also down here, because this freaking thing here, it sends hot air into the intake when it's cold out to help warm up the car faster. But this is busted, which I also covered. This was something I found later. And it had a pipe that ran right there to the side of the intake tube there. So even if that wasn't ripped down there, it was still sucking in just dirty air through the side there. So I got a little cap over that. I got a delete system I'm going to do an install video on, but for now I just borrowed the cap from that delete kit to put on there and keep it from sucking in air on the side of the intake boot here. So we got a new boot. That's the only thing I've replaced so far. And then, like I said, this thing here is broke, so it runs over a coolant passage, and it's got a valve in it that allows hot air to go into the intake box when the car's cold to help warm it up faster. And then when it gets hot, the valve shuts, so it's no longer doing that. But as you can see, that thing's broke, and they're expensive to replace. So we're just, we're just doing the delete kit on it, so that'll be an upcoming video. I did a video covering that and more in the intake boot and showing the rip and all that before I replaced it. I was basically titled 3 things were broken on my intake system, and so those were the 2. And the third one being this right here, which I noticed on the when I looked at it before I even bought it. Somehow somebody has ripped the freaking wires out of the coupler that goes to this. So this has a long plastic piece in here with pathways for the air, so it's kind of like a dual runner system. So it's supposed to be on one set of runners at lower RPM and the other set of runners at higher RPM to give you better power and different RPMs. And obviously with the wires being ripped out of that is not working, which I believe explains, if you see in the previous videos, I was complaining how this thing doesn't really have any bottom end power whatsoever, even accounting for the fact that it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder. So I think that's why, because that thing's not working. At least I sure hope so. So that's something that's going to be getting fixed. Then right over here, this is one I noticed after driving around for a while. I kept getting this whining sound, but it would only do it after I've been driving the car for a while. And I thought it was a transmission. I was really worried. I checked the trans fluid. It was good and full and all that. It actually looks like pretty fresh fluid, but you notice this power steering pump here is all nasty. I think these seals up in here, and I'm probably going to replace them instead of the whole pump. These little O-rings up in here, I think that's why it's all gooey there, because I think it's been like getting bypass. So this thing, it said it was, you know, good, like it was on the low mark, but I've noticed on cars before with like the slave cylinders and the brake booster and all that, and power steering, sometimes even if they're on the minimum line, it's still not operating correctly. So you really want to try to keep them at the full line. And that's what was happening. As soon as I filled this thing up, because I was looking down in it, and it was all frothy and bubbly while it was running, so it was getting air in the system, which even if it was full, it could still do that if the leak from these lines here was bad enough. But since I filled this up, and I'm actually a little over full there, I haven't had the whining sound anymore. So that's definitely what the whining was. Even though this, according to the low line, it had enough fluid in it. It was getting air in the system, probably because of all those bubbles and crap. And like I said, these O-rings are definitely bad. You can see from all this crap on top. So that's where my whining sound was coming from. So I do need to address this power steering pump. But like I said, I think the pump's fine. I just need to replace the O-ring gaskets under the inlet and return lines there. Thing's got a lot of body damage, which I pointed out in the previous videos. You know, we got this going on here. They literally have the whole front bumper zip tied on. There's a few clips here and there, and then there's a ton of missing ones. Clearly they hit something, which is why it busted all those clips and stuff, and whatever was here, I don't know if it had fog lights or what, but you know, that's busted. So I may eventually get a replacement bumper, but for now I'm just going to, when I have the time, take it off and put it back on properly and get the screws in where I can and replace all the clips that I can. You can see there, that's broke there, but I should be able to button this up decently. And then I'm assuming whenever they did that, you can see these have just been burnt off from the tire here. I'm assuming this whole thing fell back while they were driving, and the tire just kind of melted through it. So this is all broke. These lines here, the tire, you can see where it rubbed through it, so there's no longer covered. You can see where it just like sheared off. This whole thing should be covered here, so that's why I don't have my windshield squirties there, as I like to call them, because that's been tore off and the tire rubbed on it. And then yeah, see, this is supposed to be under and it's on top. Similar thing over here. This is supposed to have a whole cover and everything, and it's all completely gone and missing. You can even see clear up in here where it was supposed to connect. This whole thing's open and exposed. There's supposed to be a cover like this all the way around on both sides. But back to the body damage. I thought this was hail damage. It has these freaking dents. Let me get it in the light, it might be easier to see. Just all over the car, the hood, the roof, the fenders. Obviously got a big dent there, probably when that happened. It's hard for me to tell. If you can see them pretty good. It's just all over the car. I thought it was hail damage, but they claimed it was from being parked under, oh, that's, I just discovered that. From being parked under a tree for a while, apparently. I gotta move here. I don't think you can hear me in the wind noise. I know it's pretty windy. It's probably blowing on my mic. Anyways, claimed, you know, branches and stuff falling from the trees for God knows how long, is why this thing's all covered in dents. So that's unfortunate. I may try to get like a little suction thing to see if we can pop a bunch out, but I don't know how well that's gonna work. Then over here, there's a pretty big, this mirror doesn't match. It took me forever to notice that. It says silver instead of gray. I mean, it took me weeks to notice this. And only because I started looking at it, because I noticed there's like a real loud wind noise coming from over here, and I think that's why it's like, because it's not, you know, on there properly like it should be. So I'll eventually be replacing this to one that matches the color of the car. I don't know if you can see those dents there, but there's a bunch there. But yeah, this guy I definitely need to take care of before it rusts through. So we got that big impact and rust there I got to take care of. On the back window, I thought this was funny. They left all this crap on. You can see there's two. So I don't know if it was multiple owners did that, or the same guy and they got temporaries twice, or I don't know what the heck was going on. But I need to scrape all this once it warms up, and I can get that some solvent up in there that won't eat the glass. That way I can get all the glue and crap off. And then down here, this was irritating. I ain't gonna wiggle this and show you my plate number, but basically these screws are like cross-threaded. They go into plastic, but so my plate flops around and it drives me crazy. I need to fix that. Mix and match tires. I think all four are different. Let's see. Assurance, Goodyear Assurance, He's got decent tread on them, but they're real old. The guy just kept buying used tires when he needed tires. I don't know how well you can see, but they're extremely dry rotted and very hard, so they really need replaced. See, that was a Goodyear Assurance. What's this one? Well, this one's definitely different. Tehran, whatever the heck that is. Is that a Bridgestone? What does that say? I don't know. Let's just go see if the others match. This one's covered in mud. What's that say? Douglas. All season. So that's 3 different tires. And then the final one over here. Yep. Solar. 4XS. So yeah, we have 4 different freaking tires on here. And considering that, the thing actually drives pretty decent considering it's got 4 completely different tires on it. Both of them have pretty good tread. Like I said, 2 or 3 of them are really dry rotted, and this one's the worst. So I had been smelling like a burnt rubber smell and noticed that when I would drive, this wheel was hot and the rest were cold. So I was thinking it might have, you know, my brake's not sticking. I checked that and I was like, well, is the wheel bearing going out? It's not making any noise. And I got real close and was taking a whiff, and it smelled like burnt rubber. It was low, pretty low on air. I forget, it only had like 12 or 15 psi in it or something. I've pumped it up since. It doesn't seem to be leaking, but because this was so low and because the tire is so old and nasty, and I wish you could see that. I'm getting it to compress just by squeezing it with my hand. It's real old and dry rotted and nasty. So a lot of people don't know, as you drive, like let's say this patch of tread right here, when it gets down here and it hits the ground, it actually squishes up from the weight of the car. So your tire is constantly going thump, 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 like that. So it's constantly expanding and squishing, expanding and squishing, and that causes heat. So if you have underinflated tires, it actually causes your tires to get really hot and will wear them out prematurely. So I kind of had that going on because this was too low. You know, when I first got it, all the tires had different amounts of pressure in them before I checked them all. And because this thing's so old, nasty, and dry rotted, with it getting extra hot from only having like 15 psi in it, that's where I was getting that stank from, was from this old, nasty, dry rubber. So, you know, really a completely unsafe tire based off of that, and it still kind of smells, but not nearly as bad as it did. So, and then this one obviously is pretty low on tread. So here soon I'm getting all matching tires all the way around for it, and get these death trap tires off of here, especially for the way I like to drive. Oh yeah, and then back here on both sides we got this rust crap starting here, pretty typical for Ohio. And that extends, and unfortunately up into here you can see how this is kind of like bent down. That's because all this is starting to bubble out with rust. So it's like the fender's starting to bend down towards the wheel. It's getting pretty bad up in there. Claims the sunroof, moonroof thing there works, but I haven't been brave enough to try it yet, not until I know it's going to be dry for a while, in case I can't get it back closed. The interior is really rough, as you can see. You know, it happens with age, older cars. Really nasty. So I've been working on getting it cleaned up. I need to like shampoo it and stuff. I'm gonna clean up this leather because it's pretty stained and nasty. I need to get this fixed before a passenger kicks the ECU there, and the car won't freaking run. But they got the panel in the back. I'm not quite sure why they had it off, although this floor was wet when I got it. So I don't know if the heater core went out and that's why or what, but no leaks or coolant smell currently. This thing's busted, not a big deal. You're supposed to be able to switch it back and forth between this and the cup holders there. It is a little annoying, so if I can find one in the junkyard, I'll try to replace it, because I'd prefer to have my cup holders there. I noticed somebody like colored that in with blue, which doesn't match the car at all, so I'm probably going to go over that with black or something. Like I said, it seems to ride surprisingly well and handle pretty well, considering it's got 4 different mix match tires. But this corner in particular, oh yeah, mix match wheel. I have the other wheel. It looks to be okay. They claimed it was okay, just they had a flat tire, and I don't know why they had a spare stalker there. But I have the matching wheel in the house, so when I get all 4 new tires that match, We'll get that on there, provided that it holds air, which I hope it does, or it's going to be a pain in the butt to try to find one of these in the exact size and bolt pattern I need used, because I don't want a brand new one matching all these crappy ones. You know, they got some imperfections on them and curb rash. I guess I could always just repaint them all, but anyways, this side of the car only sags. It's very close to the wheel well there compared to the others, so that rear shock there, at least strut, whatever it is blown out. So that corner of the car is sagging, so I might do all 4 corners, or I might just do the rear at some point. I'm not sure. There's a slight clunk when I wiggle the wheels back and forth with it up. It seems to be worse on the other side, so there might be like a ball joint or a tie rod or something like that that's getting close to needing replaced. No biggie there, you know. 20-year-old car with 170,000 miles is to be expected. Also, the remote locks don't work. So you can hear it trying to make noise, but I don't know, the actuator or whatever it is in there, the electric motor that controls it, it doesn't have enough power to actually lock the stinking doors. So that's something I got to fix as well. Also, regarding loose stuff in the front end, I hear it popping, clunking when I'm driving down gravel roads like this. So there's definitely something loose up there in the front end. Wheel bearings seem to be good. The brakes, they're okay for now, but they definitely need replaced. They are warped or have some hot spots when I hit them, you know, semi-aggressively from higher speeds. I can feel it and hear it in the pedal going. So definitely going to be getting all the brakes replaced all the way around all 4 corners, so we'll have a video on that coming up. It's got a heat shield for the exhaust underneath that rattles when it comes to a stop in gear, and it drives me crazy. I'm going to take care of that. It's part of what I found crawling under. It's the one that goes around the catalytic converter. It's just all rusted off and sitting there rattling, so gonna take care of that. But I also have this weird, if I take off too quickly from a stop or in a low enough gear and punch it, there's a vibration that kind of goes through the whole frame of the car, and you can kind of feel it in the floor and in the steering wheel. I don't think it's the exhaust shield that's loose and rattling causing that. It could be, so I'm gonna wait till I address that first to look further into it. But what I think it is, and what it probably is a motor or trans mount. This thing's got 3 motor mounts and 1 trans mount, so I think one of those is probably gone bad and needs replaced. And that's the whole point of those rubber motor mounts and trans mounts. It puts rubber, you know, between the engine and transmission that, you know, vibrate in harmony with one another, because they're bolted up to one another to where it bolts to your frame. It puts those rubber between the bolts, you know, hold it to the frame. And the whole purpose of that rubber is so you don't get those vibrations through the frame and through the floor and into the steering wheel. So when those go bad, that's kind of how you get that. So I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Plus this one down in here, I don't know if you guys can hear it on camera, but it kind of squeaks. It's pretty, hang on here. Yeah, I can't get it to do it while recording. I need both hands, but if I like rock the engine, I can hear this one specifically squeaking. So it's likely that one's the culprit, but I'll probably just buy the whole kit and do all 4 at once, which would be another video. And then the last thing, which is the worst thing, which I already mentioned in the previous videos, if I hit VTEC on this thing a couple times, it goes into a limp mode and it won't let me rev past 3,800 RPM, and I have like literally no freaking power. So that's a huge bummer. I'm not sure what's causing that. Originally, I thought it was, you know, this thing not working. So maybe when it hits VTEC a couple times, the computer's picking up that it's not quite running right or getting the airflow it should or something like that, because this thing's not switching the valves in the intake like it should. But more recently, I ran all the codes I've got over the past couple months, and I have a code for a NOx sensor on there. So that could actually be what's causing it. I drove it around and didn't hit VTEC intentionally to see what codes would come up without it going into limp mode, and I got some codes, and I'll go over those in just a second here. But if I remember correctly, I did not get the NOx sensor code until after I hit VTEC and or / got it to go into limp mode. So I think that's what I probably got. The NOx sensor is probably working intermittently, so I'll probably most likely be replacing that NOx sensor, and then that may solve that problem there with it going into limp mode after I hit VTEC a couple times. Oh, also up in here, I'm on the driver's side front, I found this, if I can get this to zoom. Yeah, I see some wire there. That's what I thought. So, not sure what that is yet. It runs in the side of the transmission under this plastic cover here. So undoubtedly there's some sensor or something in there. So I thought I had a transmission code. I'm pretty sure, actually. You guys will see it in the video because I'm going over the codes, but that very well may be what that code is from. Plus, I noticed this cover's loose. It's not by a lot. You guys probably can't hear over the dang chickens right now, but I noticed some of these bolts over here aren't completely tight, and this thing's wobbling a little bit. So it definitely looks like somebody's been in there before. But yeah, that right there is either already an issue or it's going to soon become an issue. But thankfully, it just plugs in right there. So I think I can just easily replace this whole section with whatever the heck this is. And it just unclips right up in there, so you can just replace the whole thing. But not entirely sure, but that may be where my trans code is coming from, if I have one, which, like I said, I believe I did. Also forgot while I'm down here, I should show you. You see the boot there for the sway bar joint. This tore right there. The same thing on the lower control arm. The boot's on both sides. It's hard to see because it's dark. But they are lacerated all the way around, so that might be where some of that play is coming from. It could be those, but if not, it's going to be those before too long, because all that grease in there is going to get washed out with those boots being torn. But I do have new axles, and there's a new starter up in there. And then also while I'm down here, that's the exhaust shield I was talking about, and that's my rattle. So I know you really don't want stuff getting hot under here, although there's not really much there, but I think I'm going to replace it. You can buy these to replace. I'm probably going to have to cut off these bolts where it mounted, but I'll probably have a video on that where I'm going to cut this crap out. I'm going to pull the O2 sensors out to get it out too, but then I'll put in a new one with some new bolts. I keep remembering more stuff. I'm missing a lug nut, at least one on every single wheel. This one's missing two. And on this one, that stud there on the left, that thing's sheared off, so that's going to have to be corrected. I'm not saying that one's okay, but it's not sheared off, whereas that one is, so it's a good chance that's why some of them are missing too, so I'm going to have to replace some wheel studs. So I think that's finally it for now. Believe it or not, it actually has less things wrong with it than the Eclipse did, but it kind of makes sense because I only paid $800 for the Eclipse and I paid $2,000 for this, and they're almost the same year. And well, the Eclipse had lower miles, but you know, the Acura here, those command a higher price. I think if they both had 170, the Eclipse is an 03, the RSX is an 05. You know, the Eclipse with 170,000 miles in good shape with nothing, not needing anything, you know, it's about $3,500 car, maybe $4,000. Whereas these are going for like, you know, $5,500. So overall, considering, you know, it's a $5,000 car, if it didn't need anything, it was in good shape. I don't think 22 is too bad. I think I got what I paid for. It's certainly not a deal though, because I got a lot of stuff I got to address on it. But hey, that's how I'm getting into these project cars for now. I didn't have $5,500, but I had $2,200, so here we are. So anyways, I work on getting this one all fixed up. The Eclipse is pretty much done. I'm moving on to performance mods with the Eclipse finally, now that I got it, you know, running and riding right. We'll have some, here real soon, I'm going to do some like hot rod videos on the Eclipse, 0 to 60, 0 to 100, like that. Do some launches and pulls and different things like that coming up on it. I wanted to get that thing running 100% first before I did that, to make sure it's running at its true potential, and then also had to get the front end fixed just so I could launch the freaking thing. And then we'll kind of do the same thing on the RSX here once I get it right, to where it'll, you know, run right. I got everything fixed so it'll make maximum power like it should, and I don't have to worry about it going in limp mode when I hit VTEC and all that. Do some pull videos with this, launches, drive-bys, and whatnot. But until then, you'll just see some videos here and there of me getting this stuff fixed up that I've mentioned, and then we'll get to that point. And then also, once we're to that point, you know, I'll be doing some intake, exhaust mods, maybe a header, ECU reflash, something like that, make it a little funner. So that's what you have to look forward to for the time being. Appreciate you guys stopping by and checking this one out, and I hope to catch you on the next one.